As mentioned in the first episode of Dark Disturbances, AlterWorld's origins can be traced back to 2003 with the haunting of the house where me and my brother Chris lived at the time. Although unexplained phenomena occurred at random in the house on Clark Street for years, it wasn't until me, Chris, and our cousin Daryl began investigating this activity that it escalated in both frequency and aggressiveness. After 20 years, we're finally telling the entire story.
I think it was a couple of weeks before the first investigation. That was when Robert, he was over at my house, and that was when he told me about some of the strange noises he had been hearing.
You know, we talked about kind of doing a ghost hunt.
He's like, well, I got a camera, we'll go upstairs and we'll check it out, and I agreed, and...
You know, we said, well, let's go ahead and do some hunting, so...
That was kind of how it all started.
We went upstairs. Daryl started filming.
And the first thing that I noticed is there's a strange kind of a breeze, cool breeze.
We felt a cold breeze go past both of us, almost like something was rushing past us, running past us. It was very cold, and it was just kind of eerie.
There was no air conditioning in the house except for there was a window unit down on the first floor in Aunt Sandra's bedroom, and there was another window unit in Robert and Chris's bedroom. So it was very unusual to feel something like that.
I believe I was the first one up the stairs.
I'm trying to film up there, and you can't see anything. It's completely pitch black.
Trying to record up there was pretty difficult. I had just a little 2-inch crappy flashlight.
But he's shining it around the attic, and he's, this is the chimney over here, and this is where I found some old newspapers over here. I swear this flashlight that Chris had, it was like something you would get in a fucking Happy Meal.
And the camera couldn't pick up any of it, so it was complete darkness. Well, you could hear me. I was talking about some of the stuff up there, the chimney, some of the old paperwork up there. Around that time, I was getting this burning sensation in my leg. It wasn't an intense burn. It wasn't like a bug was biting me or anything. It was just this really odd burning sensation I was getting.
I started getting this weird feeling on both of my legs, almost like I just got bugs crawling all over them. So I asked Robert to come over and check, because I thought, well, maybe we disturbed a spider's nest or something. And Robert said there was nothing on my legs. And then right after that, I could hear Chris say something about he felt like the hairs on his left leg, I believe his left leg, he said that they were burning. So after that, I was like, well, can't see anything up here. We can't get anything on camera anyway. Let's just go back downstairs.
So we end up coming down the stairs and notice there's a whole bunch of these black fingerprints all over the one wall. And we end up noticing there's like this small one. It was more on the attic, on the ceiling next to the attic. And at first it looked like it was just like a little paw print, 4 little points on it. But the more you look at it, you can see the faint markings of like a thumb.
The handprints were creepy looking. Now looking back at it, rewatching the footage, I know when originally I saw them live and looked at them, they looked like, like a kid's handprint, especially up on the ceiling, the one that Daryl recorded. But looking at it in the recording, it almost looks like a combination of a person and an animal's print.
And it was a very, very odd looking handprint. At first I thought it was a paw print. And upon closer examination, you could kind of make out a thumb.
Now, we didn't go out there all the time, but we had been up there a few times here and there to store some totes and things upstairs.
I thought maybe whoever's working in the attic, it was pretty dirty up there, so they might pick up something in their hands. That really explains all the ones going up and down by the stairs.
I never remembered seeing the handprints in there. Chris, I believe, said that he had seen them in there before, but I never remembered seeing them. And especially the one up on the ceiling.
I thought the one on the ceiling could have been someone could possibly have put their hand up there to steady themselves.
But something about that print that was on the ceiling, it just didn't add up. It just seemed out of place. So we're talking about these handprints that are on the wall, and then we all start hearing these noises.
And then we start hearing this noise.
For some reason, I thought it was outside at first, but listening to it, it was footsteps upstairs in the attic where me and Chris just were a couple minutes ago.
It sounded like footsteps were coming up in the attic.
Kind of reminds me of that frickin'... Sounds like something right outside.
Nah, that sounds like it's coming from upstairs. It does.
It is. It's up toward that corner where you were pointing where the papers and the pipes were.
It's over this way.
We could hear the footsteps. It started near us and then was making their way behind us toward the opposite end of the house. And then we left the kitchen to follow them.
Well, we heard these footsteps, and we were kind of trying to follow the sound. And we made our way across where the kitchen was at. There was a living room, and then across from that was a bedroom. And we called that bedroom the drum room, because that's where we used to keep our drums at.
I can remember Chris, he seemed a little bit rattled by what we had heard.
I lived that house my whole life at that point, and I've never heard these kinds of footsteps before. So when we were in the drum room, we could hear them, but they kind of faded out. So we went out into the living room, and at that time, there must have been a Mud Hens game going on at the time, because we started hearing fireworks. And I was discussing about some draw I had to the closet that was up there just off of the living room.
Chris was telling us about something that had happened the year before. It wasn't anything paranormal related, but he thought it was a peculiar story nonetheless. We were hearing some fireworks from downtown from the Mud Hens game,
And fireworks started dying down, man.
and then Chris went back to the kitchen.
So I decided to poke my head into the kitchen again. So I drew back the blanket that was covering the doorway and stuck my head in there. And at this time, we started hearing more footsteps.
Sounds like it's right over here.
But this time, they started up where they had stopped earlier.
You can hear it coming from the drum room and across the living room and into the kitchen.
And were making their way to the entrance to the attic. I can remember Chris kind of, moving away from the kitchen doorway and mentioning that
It's getting fucking close to that fucking door over there.
I can remember there being a tense minute or two where we were kind of waiting almost for that curtain to be jerked open and something to come flying in after us. Of course, it never happened.
So we kind of backed off, and then a little time went by, kind of let things cool down, and decided we're going to try the attic again. We're going to go back into the kitchen.
Robert went into the kitchen area, and by this time he had commandeered the Happy Meal flashlight.
Rob ended up taking lead this time. He took my crappy flashlight.
I was filming him shining the light up into the entrance to the attic,
And he's trying to peer around.
Was looking up there and could swear that I saw a shadow moving.
What the fuck is that? I just saw like a shadow move.
And he said that he saw something move. Like a shadow figure or some sort of shadow.
he moved a little bit closer to try to see if he could see anything else.
We start hearing some more footsteps.
This time it was really kind of hard to pinpoint which direction the footsteps were coming from and where they were going. So we were quiet for a little while.
The footsteps kind of died down a little bit, and we're standing there just kind of waiting to see if there's more noise. And about that time...
And then Chris decided to kick the fucking door next to us. And scared the shit out of me and Robert.
Chris hit the door and scared the crap out of me and Daryl, which Chris liked to do.
Scared everyone.
Fucking kill you.
You gotta give props to Chris, though, for trying to, put a little comic relief in a pretty tense situation.
The whole situation was very serious, but at the same time, we kind of mixed in a little bit of humor into there just to, I guess, lighten up the mood because everything was just so tense at that time.
The rest of the night was pretty uneventful. After a while, we made our way down into the basement and nothing happened down there. We even left Chris down there by himself with the video camera, and the only hard evidence that he caught down there was of his own boredom. We did, however, leave the camera upstairs in the living room area pointed toward the kitchen doorway. I remember it caught a couple of weird things. Most of them could probably be dismissed as, noises from outside. But it did catch this one very odd EVP. It was really weird.
When the same came out the next day, we decided, well, we're going to go up there and kind of poke around and see what things were.
It was a completely different atmosphere up there than the night before. There were no ominous feelings or anything like that. We could see really well up there.
There's no flooring up there in the attic. Everything was just like exposed joist beams and stuff. And if you was not careful, you could put your foot right through the ceiling. So we made our way across. There was like a chimney in the center, and there's a lot of just old newspapers over there.
Chris was showing me these fragments of the old newspapers that he mentioned the night before of the Daily Beat.
And we noticed that hanging up was like a collage.
The strangest thing I remember seeing that day was the old collage that was hanging over the TV antenna up there.
But it was very old. I've never seen it before. I hardly ever spent any time up there in the attic anyways. But it was just, something about it was just very odd.
And like the handprint downstairs on the ceiling, this collage just felt out of place or out of time. I don't know how to describe it. It was just I felt weird looking at it. Little did we know that collage would play a bigger role in things.
And, there was a lot more stuff that happened in later hunts. So, this first hunt wasn't too eventful, but there was a lot more to come.
Things would get way more interesting over the next couple of months.